basketball fans? It's your boy Luke, back for another Jock Market preview for tonight's cash market. We've been on an absolute heater of late, whether it's on DraftKings or the Jock Market, and last night was yet another winning night for us. Our best buys for last night, first off, was Damian Harris in the NFL. He ended up going for over 100 rushing yards, a touchdown. We snagged 12 shares of him in the IPO period for $7. Profited a whole 216, so that was really nice. Padded our profit, our bankroll a little bit right there. We also had Andrew Wiggins, who went from $3.13 at IPO to over a $6.84 return. That is over 107% ROI. We also had Dylan Brooks, who we talked about during our preview, who went from $3.55 during the IPO to $5.85, which was a 65% positive ROI. So overall, ended up making over $250 profit last night on the Jock Market, and that was despite some bad plays on the NBA side. Obviously, was carried a little bit by Damian Harris and those two plays right there. But with this momentum that we have, we look to build on it. We have a 3-game NBA slate tonight, so let's go ahead and get it. And now for the IPO targets. First off, you can see there's 2 games in particular that I'm targeting for tonight. First off, we have the Spurs and Knicks game, where both sides do have a slightly positive matchup. Neither team is very good in terms of defensive efficiency, and they both run with slightly above average pace. The other game is going to be that Lakers and Celtics game, particularly the Celtics side of things. That is another game I expect to be running with a relatively high pace. It is the highest over-under on the slate. The reason why I like the Celtics a little bit more is we're not dealing with the big 3. There's a very good chance that all 3 will be playing for the Lakers tonight, which means that a lot of the usage is going to be huddled between those 3, and in reality makes them a little bit less attractive in fantasy. Now, if 1 or 2 of them ends up getting rolled out, as of right now, they're all game time decisions, I believe, except for Russell Westbrook, could end up being a situation to look out for. So as things stand, really like that Spurs-Knicks game, and of course the Celtics. Let's start off with RJ Barrett though, obviously playing for the New York Knicks. I have him as a little bit underrated on the slate. He's pre-ranked at number 27. I have him projected closer to number 16. He's somebody who's been getting plenty of playing time for this team, particularly with Kemba Walker out of the rotation. He's seen his average minutes load go from right around 33 minutes to right around 35. And he's been a good fantasy producer all year as well, averaging right around 0.8 fantasy points per minute. So at a 34 point a minute projection, that puts him at a very solid projection tonight of 28.25 points. So in this matchup against the Spurs, again, it's a slightly positive matchup for anyone on the offensive side of things. He makes a very well-rounded target. So I have him at a target price of $5. I definitely think he has a chance for going less than that. And if he does, it's definitely somebody I'll be adding to my player pool. Next up is going to be Derek White on the other side of that game. He's also somebody who's a scorer and a little bit underrated in my opinion. At number 19 in the pre-IPO rankings, I have him closer to number 14. When we start to get to this number 8 to let's say 16 range, you really don't have many points separating that range. I believe it's a total of 4.5 in terms of the pre-IPO projections. So for me, targeting people that are at the lower end of that spectrum that I have projected a little bit higher than Jock Market is going to be an easy way to make some profit tonight. If one of them ends up cracking the top 10, we're in for an absolute gold mine. And if I don't necessarily expect that to happen tonight, Barrett and White give you a very high floor. They're also people that if they're hitting their shots, could, and I say could, hit that ceiling. It's not extremely likely. I like going to the centers a little bit more just because they have a more well-rounded skill set. They're going to give you those rebounds. They, of course, don't get the negative points for the missed shots like a guard will. So they have a little bit of a higher chance of hitting that ceiling, at least on the Jock Market. Obviously, on DK, where you're not getting those negative points for missed shots, some of these guards have a little bit higher potential. It's still definitely like them, and it definitely will be a part of my portfolio for tonight. Next up, we have Jakob Poeltl. So speaking of some of those big men that have a higher ceiling, Poeltl is arguably my favorite play for tonight. He comes in ranked at number 32, which in my opinion is just absolutely disrespectful at just under a 20-point projection. In reality, at least per my projections, I have him closer to number 12 on the slate at over a 31.5-point projection. So that is a drastic difference between where I have him projected at and, of course, the Jock Market. So that will inherently make him a very valuable play. I project him to go for just a little bit less than $5. In fact, I'd actually be willing to spend a little bit more for him because I have him projected so highly. The number 12 player on the slate tonight is going to return right around $8 to $10, depending on where you end up in that range there, which would make him an excellent value. So again, the Knicks do present a positive matchup. They have some big men as well, like Nerlens Noel and Mitchell Robinson. at least one of them should be out there for the entire game. So as a result, they're going to need Podol's size, whether it's him or Eubanks, to defend against that. Now at number 3, touching on that Celtics versus Lakers game, we have Robert Williams coming in as the pre-ranked number 22 player. He's also being slept on. I don't know what it is with these big men. They consistently outperform the projections here on the jock market, and their algorithm doesn't really seem to catch up. So I have him projected as the number 11 player on the slate, just slightly better than Jakob Podol. They're at a 31.65 point projection, and arguably you can say that Podol should be higher on this list. I do have Williams projected just higher though, so he might not be as high of an upside play because he's going to cost a little bit more, but he's also got a little bit more of a secure minute load. We know he's going to see 32 to 33 minutes, and he is the higher point per minute producer for the year. So he is a slightly better play, but you're going to pay for that type of upside as well. I have him at a target price of $1.25 higher at $6.25. And I really wouldn't be willing to go higher than that. I don't see a reason to jam in Robert Williams. He's not like a Jakob Podol, where we could spend probably an extra dollar or two and still be well within the value range. So he's not a priority for me tonight, but does project well in terms of a floor play as well as an upside as well. At number 2, we have Jason Tatum, another feature of that Celtics team. This matchup against the Lakers has arguably become one of the best matchups in the entire NBA. I have him as the pre-ranked number 7th player on the slate. Comes in my projections, though, at number 3. So I have him projected very nicely at a 45-point projection. He's somebody who definitely gets a little bit overlooked. You're going to have some other superstars on the slate like Luka Doncic, James Harden, Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, even a Russell Westbrook. They're going to get a lot of the casual fans and just overall fans of those players to invest into them. Somebody like a Jason Tatum, obviously he is somebody that people know about, but he's not on that superstar level caliber yet. So he's always a little bit overlooked. Of late has been on an absolute heater over his last 5 starts on the jock market, averaging over 50 fantasy points. So for me, I think that projection is just a little bit too low, particularly when we consider the matchup. He should perform even better against the Lakers than he has over this past week or so. So I have him at a target price of $12, which might even be a little bit aggressive. He should probably go for right around $11 or perhaps even less than that. But I would spend up to $12 for him because I think the matchup is so good. But now finally, our number 1 pick for tonight, and it's not even particularly close in my opinion, that would be DeJounte Murray of the Spurs. We've already talked about this matchup. It's my favorite game on the slate to target, but Murray is the most underrated player in the NBA. I'm going to go ahead and say this right now. This is somebody who should be on the MVP watch for this year. He's averaging nearly a triple-double every game. In terms of fantasy scoring, he certainly is the fantasy MVP. He was somebody who went towards the end of the first round in some of your fantasy basketball drafts this year, maybe towards the beginning of the second round, and is arguably the most valuable player of this year. He's averaging 49 fantasy points per game on the jock market. He's averaging a return of over 30% ROI per slate. And he's only lost money on the jock market a whopping 8% of the time. This is somebody who's been an absolute stud, just like a Jason Tatum, because he doesn't have that star power. Even more so than a Jason Tatum, he gets absolutely overlooked. So even though he comes in as the number 5 pre-ranked player, I do expect him to go for a little bit less than he should. I have him at a target price of $12.75. Again, I wouldn't really go over that. We don't need to try to push these guys up top. If we can get a good value on them, a good price, go ahead and fire a bunch of shares on them. So for me, at $12.75, he would be an absolute steal. All I've got for tonight's preview. Go ahead and let me know down in the comments who you have as your favorite IPO target. I always love to hear from you guys, so go ahead and leave that down there below. And as always, if you have any questions about the jock market, feel free to DM me on Twitter or also leave a comment down below with your question. It's a new site, it's a new format. We're all trying to learn and get better as a community. So if you have any of those questions, don't be shy about going ahead and asking away. I'm going to look to start live streaming sometime soon for the IPO phase over the next week or so. That'll be from right around 6 to 7 p.m. For that last hour of the IPO phase. That way we can live react to some of the prices. You guys can ask me some questions down below about some of the people you're considering adding to your portfolio, that kind of thing. And overall, just trying to give you guys another source of content for the jock market, because I think it's definitely going to be the future of DFS. It's an extremely fun format. It's been extremely profitable for me. So I want to start focusing on it a little bit more. So as always, guys, good luck with your bidding for tonight. Let's get some cash tonight, and let's go ahead and take this cash market now.